Man, we're gonna go best friends, buddy. All the stuff you talking, you gotta hook up. Fantastic program. I'm telling you, welcome, folks. This is October. This is the October edition of Barbershop Talks. My name is Darrell Watson. I am honored to serve all of the fine District 9. We have an amazing panel tonight to talk about housing, the impacts on you and your family. We've got a whole crew here with us. And of course, we have DJ Squirrel. Hit my kickoff music, brother. Yes. Nice. There we go. DJ Squirrel is going to be here on the ones and twos all night. Thank you, my brother, for blowing it up for us. I want to turn you over to Marcus Pope and his team, who we've been honored, brother, to be able to host this here, to be in collaboration with you. I'd love for you to invite folks to your place of business. Tell them a little bit about House of Hair, the address, where they're at, what stuff you are doing here to make sure the community has a space here in Park Hill.
Yeah, well, welcome to House of Hair. We're located in the heart of Park Hill, 5023 East 28th Avenue. We've been seated in this cushion of the community for about going on our 11th year. And myself, got a great team, and Samantha, Deanna Allen on the end. And it's just a place where we just come in and cultivate a space of community beyond the barbershop and beyond clippers and tools and instruments. And so just grateful for tonight's session to be able to come in and just give discussion and dialogue and creativity around different city topics centered around housing tonight. And just grateful for this space and grateful for our councilman that just makes time that we can be intentional to create dialogue and engagement such as this. So if you're in the neighborhood, drop by, stop in, peek your head in, and you'll be greeted and treated just as one of the crew.
I gotta tell you, House of Hair, they don't only do you do right, they make sure that community is welcome. This is a space for community. This is a space where community action begins and continues. We know within our community, our barbershops are is a place to bring folks together to talk about all of our issues, all the things that are impacting us. So I appreciate all three of you every month allowing us to be here, being present, and helping us in our discussion. With that, we also try to support small businesses as we do this event every other month. I want to turn it over to my brother here, Darius Shelby. Darius, we have a small business that's providing us catering, providing us some scrumptious food. Tell us about who this business is and whether they're providing every month.
We get this chicken from the Blazing Chicken Shack 2 over at 33rd and Holly.
So if y'all want some good fried chicken, some red beans and rice, go to Blazing Chicken Shack 2. And what's that address again, Darius?
33rd and Holly.
All right, my brother. Well, we have a panel here tonight. We're going to discuss housing and the impacts on our families, the impacts on community. We're going into the winter months. This is October. This is going to be showing in my newsletter in November at the Fine District 9 newsletter that's going to come out the first week in November. So we're going to be going right into the holiday season. It is important within our community we understand truly how this housing crisis is impacting Black and brown families, what the city and other organizations are doing to make sure that we attack the housing crisis and make it possible for Black and brown families to own housing, to rent, and actually to have housing stability in this city that's becoming increasingly expensive. We have a great panel. I'm going to have each of you introduce yourself, share what websites, ways folks get in contact with you, and then we'll jump right into our discussions, and we'll start with Brother Greg.
Thanks for having me. This is great. I love this platform. This is a great thing. I'm loving this, y'all. I'm loving this. My name is Greg Brown. I'm with the Colorado Housing and Finance Authority. I'm in the Home Finance Division, so I'm on the business development team. And we had, in 2019, CHAFA started the Black and African American Home Ownership Initiative, and I head that up, been doing that for a little bit over a year now. And so that's what I do, and you can find me on chafainfo.com/Own Your Tomorrow. Own Your Tomorrow is our Black and African American Initiative campaign. And so that website is built out for the community. So you can go on there, you can find me, you'll see I gotta get that picture changed. That's all. I gotta get that changed, I'm working on it.
What year is that picture?
It's from when I first started, but it was
Okay.
one I didn't even know it was gonna be used for that.
All right.
But I got a headshot coming. But anyway, that's where you can find me.
All right, and you know where you can get your hair cut for that headshot.
Right here.
Right here, there you go, there you go. Adam?
Yeah, good evening, everybody, and thanks, Councilman Watson and House of Hair for having me today. I'm Adam Lyons. I'm the Development Director for the city's Department of Housing Stability. So I have the great pleasure of overseeing a team that does all the public investment into affordable housing, both rental and for sale, new construction and preservation. And you can find me at on the HOST website. That's the Department of Housing Stability. We use it HOST for short, and that's denvergov.org.
Nice to see you, Adam. Danica?
Hey, good afternoon, everybody. Thank you for inviting me. Thanks for having us here. Danica Lee, I'm with the Denver Department of Public Health and Environment, and I'm with the Public Health Investigations Division. You can find us at www.denvergov.org/PHI for Public Health Investigations. And my team has a number of different regulatory inspection programs, including our residential health and housing program. So the City of Denver has a housing code. We have investigators that go out and respond to complaints or consultation requests. We deal with everything from hoarding to landlords that won't fix issues. And so we're mostly a complaint-based program, but doing more and more proactive work, especially now that the city has a residential rental licensing program.
I gotta tell you, we do a lot with Danica, and folks who are viewing this, if you don't know the work that Danica and her team does, you literally create space, living conditions for folks to survive in the city. And we're gonna dig a little bit deeper into some of the work that you've been doing within our communities right here in the fine District 9. But I gotta tell you, even before you start sharing some of those stories, how much I appreciate, how much my office appreciate you and your team for not only being proactive, but actually caring about how you engage with community and making sure we have a community and have homes that communities, members can live in and live in safely. So thank you, Danny.
Thank you for that. We are so lucky to have a really caring, passionate team of investigators, and we're also really lucky to have wonderful partners in City Council like yourself. So thank you.
So nice, and I didn't pay her to say that. So I see how you got that on camera, Porter? Got it, good. And we have to close out the panel. Jonathan, share a little bit about yourself and how folks can get a hold of you and the group that you lead.
Sure. I don't know if you want to get hold of me because as you can see I'm always late. So
No, we weren't going to talk about you being late, but you know you're dealing with black folks. I was going to say, but we allow you to slip in, and we're glad you're here.
hopefully for a good reason. It's an interesting project. Maybe we can talk about it a little bit later. But so Jonathan Capelli, Neighborhood Development Collaborative is the organization I work with. It's a coalition of most of the Front Range nonprofit affordable housing organizations. So everything from Habitat for Humanity to Coalition for the Homeless, about 24 organizations altogether. So there's a lot of advocacy, a lot of programs too, trying to coordinate initiatives between members. There's a lot of times when, in an environment of scarce resources, it's easy to come out as competitors, but everyone's basically trying to work on the same spectrum to bring housing opportunities to folks. So we just try to coordinate that wherever possible. Also do research, and then also do some consulting, and that's why I'm late today, because we just got the community benefit agreement signed for the Ball Arena redevelopment.
All right,
about an hour ago.
That's a clap, that's a clap, that's good, that's good. And we have you maybe put some more details on that as we get into our discussion, but, that is power.
Yeah.
Making sure community voice is included in one of the largest redevelopments in the city and county of Denver, the largest infill. And we'd love for you to maybe talk a little bit about how that CBA protects communities that have been marginalized, impacted disproportionately around that part of town in District 3. So thank you so much. And I'll be remiss, I'm wearing a button. I know y'all can see it. It says, I voted. We can't have a discussion on housing stability and community without saying we've got to get out and vote. We got to vote. It is not just our right, it's our responsibility especially in this election. I'm not gonna say who I'm voting for in any federal office, but I am saying we need to vote like our lives, our civil rights, our ability to exist as equal humans in this country. We need to vote like that's what's gonna happen on November 4th? 5th. 5th? November 5th. Well, listen, I already vote. In Denver, you don't gotta wait for a day. You don't gotta wait for a day. So I don't remember when the actual day is, because I'm just saying, in Denver, in Colorado, you can vote from day one, and I voted the second I got my ballot. It was like hot in my hands, it went in a mail drop. So all across the city and county of Denver, we have 46 ballot drop boxes. Drop it in before November 5th. Drop it in before that, because we want to make sure your vote is counted early, and we can have this election clear, at least for the city and county of Denver and the state of Colorado. That being said, let's go back to our topic, housing. Because I got power, I got magic, I am the magic man here tonight. I'm giving each of you a wand. You each have a wand. And with all the work that you do in the city to make sure you're supporting housing stability, and housing availability for folks throughout Denver, with this wand, if I give this to you, I'll start first with you, Greg. Actually, I'll start with Jonathan, because you started first last time. I'll start with Jonathan. What would you do with a wand? How would you use that incredible power to make sure that housing is available, stable? What would be your priorities, and what do you think community would benefit from the work that you're doing with that wand?
It's a really tough question. It's an interesting one too. You know, sometimes in this work, you're not used to having any power, so it's sort of like when the dog catches, you know,
The car?
yeah, it's like, wait, what is this doing now? It's a little how I feel. But I think that one thing I was thinking about was how, in some ways, and you didn't pay me to say this, but like waving the wand, in some ways, if I was to wave it like 10 years ago, it would be for kind of the administration and sort of leadership that we kind of have in the city right now. And that sounds maybe like brown nosy, but I'm serious. Like, I mean, it used to have a essentially unanimous sort of like city council, right, on affordable housing, back when that used to be like a 4-letter word, you know, and you could barely get a $4 million fund, you know, through city council with that, like a 10-hour hearing. You know, there's no housing plan, et cetera. Now, I mean, you know, unanimous for a $100 million ballot initiative. It's just like things have completely changed. So I would have then wished for a sort of political leadership that understood what was going on. But I think something else I was thinking about was that, you know, a lot of the decisions that we make, this might sound a little philosophical, but a lot of decisions that are made by politicians and municipalities are judged, you know, immediately, and then you kind of forget about them. I kind of wish that there's a scorecard for the last 3 sort of maybe administrations that everyone knew about. It was like a game. Everyone was like, how's that decision going? And you're kind of held accountable to it. Because what we have now is a situation where we're kind of suffering from incrementalism, where every year there's a little bit more attention paid to affordable housing, and now we're in a great place where I think everyone seems to, not everyone, but a lot of people seem to care about it. I'm not going to say it's too little too late, but it's, you know, no one cares about it until someone who looks like them is affected by it. And then, oh my God, what are we going to do about housing? You know, middle income housing is really important, because I only know middle income people, but about all the other people who are still suffering before.
Yeah.
In order to get away from this incrementalism, you have to hold people in the past accountable for the decisions they didn't make to help people then at the levels they needed to. And we need to be able to see that, so that this generation of leaders and voters can you know, realize that you have to step it up to a much higher level. Just one fact that I think is illustrative of this is one of the largest funders for affordable housing is it's a program called the Low-Income Housing Tax Credit, LIHTC, and since 2015, you know, we've increased funding by hundreds of millions of dollars, right, in the state for housing. But that credit has produced an average, produced 3,900 units in 2015. It has produced an average of 3,900 units every year since then. So 10 years later, probably 100,000 new people in Colorado, and we're building at the same rate. It's not Shaffa's fault.
Yep.
The cost for housing development has also doubled during that time.
Yep.
But if you think that if you're increasing slowly how much you're increasing in housing program and funding, and you're doing so well at exactly the rate that the need increases, then you're not actually making an impact. And I could go on, but
Well, we do have time.
Yeah, all right. I'll stop there.
Jonathan, I appreciate that, and I'm speaking not as a council member on 2R that's on a ballot. I think one of the things that that's within that bill that's on a ballot, it's the affordable housing bill that Jonathan spoke to a little bit, is that there is a requirement every year, not simply just an action plan, but for a actual building the architecture from the city council perspective of how those funds are spent. So kind of that scorecard that never existed. So before we would have these bonds, we'd have these funds, and we would spend them based on priorities, but there wasn't a requirement for creating an architecture, having an action plan, as well as looking at how the needs are changing based on regional impacts to housing. What type of housing is needed now, what type of housing is needed next year. We have to review all of those things on a regular basis and transparently share that with community. So that's my non-city council member little spiel, but answering your question about having a scorecard, that's the first time we would have a scorecard tied to housing. That's not simply the purview of host. It is the purview of city council in collaboration with host.
And just one thing on that, I think it's there is a scorecard that host has, but it's not the type of scorecard that you're talking about, and that's an important distinction. When the city sets a standard, like says we're going to make 3,000 units in 5 years, we're not going to give them a 3x5 plan, or that was planned back in the day for housing. The scorecard was how well the city held itself accountable to meeting the goal it set it for itself. Not whether or not that reduced in affordability, not
That's
whether or
right.
not that made this a more equitable community. That's the real scorecard. Not I'm going to spend $10 and in 1 month, and oh look, I spent $10, so
Yeah.
I did what I said I was going to do. That's not a real scorecard.
We need more robust focus, more robust action. The wand is still live. Somebody else got a wand. I'm not going to call your name out. Anybody, jump on in. If you've got a wand, what are you going to do about housing in the next 12 months?
Okay, I'll go next. So I think I've been with our agency, the health department, your local public health agency, Denver Department of Public Health and Environment, for over 20 years, and it has been my great privilege to serve our community. It's shocking that there is such a lack of a safe environment for children. So if I could wave my magic wand, a couple things. Every child would have a safe and secure home. And a lot of people can't afford home ownership. So more opportunities for home ownership, but for those who are in a situation where they're renting, that's a lot of what our agency deals with.
Yeah.
And we just see such the gamut of like property managers. We've got some wonderful folks who do a great job maintaining their property, responding to their tenants, staying in touch, fixing things when they need to be fixed. And then you have a lot of properties where maybe there's out-of-state investors that own the property, and there's kind of these layers of ownership entities, and the more layers you have, the more it can diminish like an impactful response when there's fixes needed. So unfortunately, it's not uncommon for us to deal with properties in Denver where, let's say, the doors to the outside just are never working, they never secure. And so you've got families there who are always concerned about who's going to come in that front door. It's just a lack of basic security going into their apartment building, or maybe they have, mold in their apartment, in their bathroom, appliances that don't work. Now, when we get involved, that stuff we can come and help with, and so that's part of my message tonight, is making sure that everybody knows that we're here to help.
How do folks notify DDPHE, the Department of Health, if stuff like that is happening in their apartments?
Easiest way is through 311.
Okay.
So you can get in touch with the city over the phone, or online through 311, and we have an awesome admin staff that is pulling that stuff all day long, so it really is the quickest way to get in touch with us.
Why does that persist? The situations you're describing, why is that persistent? You've been in this work for a while. What within your magic wand, what would you break down to end that cycle of lack of care, lack of engagement with property owners to make sure our housing is safe and secure for our families?
You know, a lot of what, like, we've had in our program, or what we call a residential health program, tremendous changes over the past 5 years, 10 years. So 10 years ago, there wasn't the really more systems level awareness of the impacts of poor management properties. It was very much like you call in a complaint, we'll go out and we'll fix it, but we weren't kind of tracking where are these complaints going? Who is not calling to complain? Because we know that a lot of people don't feel comfortable calling to complain, and how do we connect with people who need us, who maybe don't feel comfortable calling to complain? And now we have what we do proactive property inspections, especially on large properties where we're seeing a lot of issues. So we've made a lot of changes to our approach to engage with people, but there's still a lot of work to be done. There's changes that can happen with how regulations, what's required in leases. And the challenging thing is if you have a property management company that is either intentionally or unintentionally not being responsible, it can be really challenging. Like the power is stacked against you in some ways. And I'm really passionate about this because I've been there and I've had to sue a landlord in the past and represent myself in court. And so it is, I was very fortunate that I could do a bunch of research and try to be a pseudo attorney in there. But not everybody has the time, resources to be able to go in and do that, and it shouldn't take that to have accountability from a property management company.
Yeah, well, I'm going to come back to you for us to share a little bit of some of the steps we're taking legislatively to confront that, and I want you to not be as polished in your response. Tell the truth. Lay it out. Let's hear the facts on it. But two more folks. You got a wand. Whoever wants to jump in.
Going down the line.
Let's go down the line. All right, I think my magic power would really boil down to just one word, and that's preservation. We know that there's no way we can build ourselves out of this affordable housing crisis in the city. There's just no way. We don't have the land, we don't have the resources, we don't have the labor to do that. So we need to preserve the assets in the city that we do have. So whether that's existing affordable housing, making sure that we keep those sustainable and operating long into the future, or homes that are owned by homeowners now who may need repairs or they'll be displaced at some point, making sure that those homeowners are stable and can stay in their homes. Or adaptive reuse programs, turning things that are not currently housing into housing. So preserving buildings by creating housing all in one, like the former Johnson & Wells campus just up the road. But beautiful apartments are being built there right now and will soon open. We've had similar success down in Southwest Denver in the Loretto Heights campus. So just making sure that we can repurpose buildings to make sure that they can have a good use into the future. All that stuff takes a lot of money, but preservation is more cost efficient than new construction. So just making sure that we have the affordable housing, we have about 16,000 units in host portfolio of affordable housing, making sure that we can keep those affordable and sustainable well into the future, making sure that market rate projects, when they're going up for sale, maybe we can work with a buyer to purchase those, de-restrict them, make them affordable. Anything we can do to preserve the assets that we do have.
Let me ask you, Adam, if we have an elder that's going to be watching this and they're like, been in my house, I live in Cole neighborhood, live in Whittier, I've got an 1886, old Victorian house. All my neighbors around me, they're new people, they moved in, they're able to update their lawns, do their roof, fix their front porch, all of that stuff. I'm on a fixed income. I don't have any money to preserve my home. I'm barely holding on with the property taxes on my home. What would you recommend? How would you direct them on preservation? Because these are the folks that we're losing. We're losing the generations who were the first people to buy in these neighborhoods. They held on through 2 recessions, COVID, and now they're being hit with property taxes, inflation, all that. How do they hold on? How do they preserve their homes?
Yeah, I think to start with that property tax. So as a senior on a fixed income, you're eligible for property tax exemptions in the city. So you can apply to the city for some property tax relief, reduce that liability that you'd have to pay each year. Another thing is the owner-occupied home repair programs that host funds through DORA, the Denver Urban Renewal Agency, making sure that, you know, if you do need accessibility upgrades or any kind of just sustainability upgrades in your home so that you can age in place, apply for those programs as well. There's also great work being done around affordable ADUs. So if you own your home,
And what's an ADU?
an accessory dwelling unit, so a granny flat or just a smaller kind of secondary home that's on your same lot that you could work with the developer to build and make it affordable so that you can house adult children, you can generate income on your property and really make make your property worth so much more and generate more generational wealth down the road.
So let me tell you, anyone that uses an acronym, we're gonna sound in some noise. We can't do it live because we don't have the beeper, but no acronym to make sure you can preserve your home. So thanks, Adam, for sharing that. And brother, you're last, man. What you can do with that wand?
I got nothing. They said it all. I got
Come on,
nothing,
man.
I
You
got
better get something. Come
No, you know, in my space with what I do at Chaffa, y'all, it's really a lot of collaborating with what we're called key stakeholders within the community, organizations, whatever the case may be, to really get the word out and try to increase home ownership. Obviously, I work for Chaffa, so I'm trying to increase it through Chaffa's footprint and our products, but at the end of the day, it's about Black home ownership. So if I had a magic wand, man, I would all these organizations and all these community leaders and what we call stakeholders, we would all be able to come together and stay consistently together because, you know, the year that I've been doing this, you know, you get a whole lot of, yeah, I love this, home ownership, and then you don't hear from folks again, you know, and then, you know, I'm
You mean folks in the space that are doing it, or folks who are interested in becoming homeowners?
A little bit of both, but where I was going with that was more so of folks that I try to partner with or collaborate with. I would really love it to be like this huge collaboration. And then on top of that, because this is a layered answer, but you know, I would love to see our community step up. You know, I would love to see, when I get out there and I do my education piece and I talk to the community, one of my main things is saying home ownership is possible. A lot of times, I think the community gets in a mindset that it's not for, look, renting has its place, and there's nothing wrong with that. But if we're going to talk about moving forward with generational wealth, moving forward with, you know, starting your own wealth and like really breaking that chain, then it's really changing the mindset. Because it's not just, I mean, look at the things that's in the Black community that is almost taught about renting everything. You know, rent your appliances, rent your car, rent your couch, rent all this, and then that bleeds into that home ownership mindset. Oh, that's not for me, that's not for us. And so I really, if I could change a magic wand, I'd have that mindset change. When I talk to folks and really get down to it and you really look at their credit's right there, you know, their assets are right there, and those that aren't there don't realize how close they are. You only need a 620 credit score to be able to qualify for Chaffa. When I talk to folks, oh, I have a 580, I have a 590, like you're real close. Let's talk about getting you to that 620. It could be in 6 months, it could be in a year, it could be in 2 years, whatever the case may be. Everyone's path is a little bit different, but let's change that mindset. So I guess to wrap that all up, if community leaders, both politically, both legislatively, y'all know what I'm trying to say.
No, you got it.
And just all together as one in this home ownership, because I don't think folks realize how powerful that really is, it can be.
I hear you, brother, and I'll share a little personal. In '97, I'm a little bit older than I look, I'm just saying. But in '97, I purchased my first home in Whittier. It was for $75,000, was half one side of a duplex. Didn't have enough money to buy both sides. I was making, I think, $22,500 at U.S. Bank, managing a team of knuckleheads, taking calls from people screaming at me all day. It was the fast line. When you bumped a check, they called me. That was the system, the team that I led. It was $22,500 I made, and I could not get the money together for my down payment and all that other stuff. And I had a friend that told me about Chaffa. And so I reached out to Chaffa. I did the 6 months financial literacy stuff, even though I was, scrimping pennies and stuff. I knew exactly what I needed to do.
But I went through that program and I was able to, purchase my first home in '97, $75,000. And over the 10 years that I owned that duplex, I cashed into some of the equity, helped my brother in Atlanta to get a place, sister in New York got a place, and then they cashed into their stuff and other family members. So we have a whole generation of their kids, because my husband and I don't have any kids, but their kids who know that home ownership is part of our tradition. I mean, they all, as their kids are growing up, they choose to buy first instead of rent. So it broke not just the generational poverty that solely only looking at renting had, it broke the mindset. I mean, they grew up in a house that their parents owned. Their uncle lived across the country, owns a house when they come visit. Their aunt up the hill, in New Jersey, owns a house. The brother in the Virgin Islands, where I'm from, owns a house. We broke that, and that began with a simple grant. It wasn't a loan, a grant from Chapel. I was the first of the 7 kids that bought their own home, and from there, we built that. So your process, what Chaffa does and others like you, you stepped up to be here, so I'm talking about Chaffa.
Yeah.
Your process changed the trajectory of my family. And what we believe is possible in not just my generation, but every other generation that came after.
Yeah.
And some of those kids are now having kids. So I have great nieces and nephews. They're not satisfied with renting. They're not satisfied without not going to something after high school, whether it's a 4-year university or college or some tech school. I mean, they know, because of my siblings and I, we did an example, and it truly began, honestly, with that chopper grant, that one grant in 1997. The entire family got impacted. So I want to say thank you all. Every time I see you, I get props, because I think it's an amazing program that's not leveraged as much from the black community. It's not leveraged as much from us, and you are focused on that. And so we need to get together so we can do a home ownership workshop or something in the upcoming year, and find a space and place where community can show up, and maybe do it with Councilmember Lewis. You hear me, Lewis? We do it jointly, District 8 and District 9, and we do a joint black home ownership workshop, and bring all those partners in to make sure that we have that platform so other families like mine can have this story someday.
Love it.
So appreciate it.
Love
So let's change a little bit. I wanted to, first, from the folks in the audience, I know y'all are being a little quiet because I'm not looking at y'all, so let me look at everybody. Look at everybody. Anything that you heard touch you, that you want to speak some truths from your life, and that's also you, DJ. Anything touch you that you want to spill in some of your thoughts, your feelings on? I'm not going to look at Sam because she's like, I'm always looking at you.
I'll go ahead.
I didn't know you were looking at me or
I'm looking at all of you.
I'll go ahead and say that
Darius,
if we have a program to help not just young people, but black people, young people, anyone really, to help sign up for grants and programs, I'll be the first person to sign up. But I know sometimes the word just grant itself and other things like that, when you're talking to a lot of folks, can be intimidating. They've never signed up for a grant before. They don't know what that consists of or what it looks like. So I think sometimes you do have to meet people where they are and have programs like that where you fill the grant out with them there and help them and show them. And then once they do it once with somebody, they can know moving on from there that this isn't as scary and as hard as I thought it was to get the help that I need.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
it's a good point. Good point. Any other thoughts?
I think,
No, go.
well, I think one of the things that came to mind was, like, man, how do we stage all of this knowledge in the room?
Yeah.
And all these resources in the room. And what came to mind really was it's a biblical code, actually. It says that the people perish for a lack of knowledge. And so in this room, just with these few individuals that work in the space of housing, you have so many solutions that I just think many don't know about. Many don't know about the advocacy that's out there for my building door that doesn't work, or the trifling, the raggedy laundry room where I can't even wash my clothes. There's advocacy out there for that, or the, just the programming, the grants, and the different unique ways you can utilize or leverage your home for adding to that generational wealth. So I was like, that really came to mind and challenged me even on better efforts that we can even foster in this space of a barbershop to promote more of that knowledge that's out there that can help the senior, you know, deal with these inflated property taxes, because they are no joke. And so, yeah, man, all of that. And so I think it's just a lot of rich knowledge in the room that I got to work better at getting out to the people on my end.
Well, Marcus, maybe what we'll do, we'll see what handouts and stuff everyone has from hosts to CHAPA to the public health team. See if we can break some of that stuff so you all can house it here as well, because there's so many folks that come through your shop, and we'll make sure we can house that stuff in here, and then maybe start looking maybe next year to have, like I said, I think it makes sense, District 8, District 9, because we both have the same people that we represent with Councilmember Lewis and myself, and we try to see, not to duplicate what anyone else is doing, but try to see if it's coming from us, if we can do something different.
Yeah, and to your point, and I'm not trying, but to your point, every quarter, we, CHAFA, we hold these home buyer events. We used to call them workshops. I don't like calling them workshops, but we hold home buyer events where, you know, I'm there myself, kind of seeing the whole thing and talking about CHAFA information. But also, it's about building your home buying team. So I bring a real estate agent who 3 generation of black real estate agent in her firm that they own. I have a loan officer there. That's
Where was your last event? Where was it at? Where did you hold it?
the Cross Purpose Building.
Oh, okay.
Wow.
You're doing it in community also.
And when is your next one?
November 23rd, 10 to noon. Cross Purpose. No, November 23rd, 10 to
That
noon.
information.
Saturday. And I'll
And
give
is
you all
that Cross
information.
Purpose again?
It's at Cross Purpose.
Okay, okay.
And so that's what we do. I have a HUD
Okay.
counsel there. I have a real estate agent there.
Okay.
I have a loan officer there myself. But then I also bring in like, you know, BOK Financial, because they have an extra
Yeah.
under credit you can add to what CHAPA gives you. I bring in Elevation Community Land Trust. I bring in the Deerfield Fund. Because it's not just about, I'm bringing in all other kind of resources that people, so it's all about educating
Right.
and showing the resources.
Well, that's
So-
definitely a path that I'm on, so, but yeah, you can have your hand up.
No. It's just like I think every single one of you have kind of touched on something that I've been rolling around in my mind, and you know, you spoke about housing for not to use an overused term, but the housing for the middle class or people that make 80% of the area median income, right? Those are your teachers, your firefighters, sometimes couples of teachers and firefighters and things like that. And so you mentioned that there's not a lot of land. It costs a lot to build new homes and things like that. And so I'm just wondering how we build access, both rental. We build access we build available and affordable housing for people that make 80% of AMI and below. How does that happen if land is a scarcity, if money, hopefully not going into the future with the affordable housing initiative, is a scarcity? And then what type of homes are available to us in this barbershop through the CHAFA program? That is excellent, by the way, and I thought would have been federally illegal because it targets black people specifically. So it's great news that it's not. So there's maybe a lot of questions in there, or one question, but essentially just how do we start to build housing for people that need it?
Look, we can talk as far as really where we're building affordable housing, and CHAPA is available. I mean, it does not exclude anyone.
Okay.
But you can have programs that are specifically targeting specific communities without being exclusive or discriminatory, and that's what CHAPA does. We know that within home ownership, there's a massive wealth gap between different demographics of people, and process and policies and programs can be created to elevate to reduce that gap and elevate the opportunity for those communities without reducing the targets and help for all folks as a whole. So, and CHAPA does that extremely well. Did I hit that?
You said it 20 times better than I
Come on
was.
now, don't mess with me, don't mess with me. Yeah, John,
Just quickly on that, I think that what you said about about sort of maybe shame in the community about getting like grants or that assistance is just really interesting, because I think we just need there to be a common understanding of the reason why it's legal to have this targeted assistance. It's called a special purpose credit vehicle, right? And it's legal because essentially it was ruled that if you had a targeted sort of disadvantage that's been proven over time historically, that sets you off at a different place, and you can repair that damage by focusing on a specific group, and it's not discriminatory because you're repairing something that happened.
Right.
We have to realize that because of the history of redlining, which just everyone understands, and everything that's been going on in the community, we're often like a much worse foot. So I think it was in 2021 for first-time home buyers that year, most of whom were white. Guess how many bought their homes with their own money, just with no help whatsoever?
Less than 10%.
So actually, I set myself up to make it funny. Anyway, I actually don't know what it was, but for a total assist, for like, I don't know, all different types of assistance, but 50% did it with their parents and families' money.
Yeah.
50%.
Yeah.
So if you don't have that, there's a reason why you don't have
We don't
that.
have it, yeah.
And so, is that a handout? Is that, charity? It's generational charity. So, in some way, you can look at this and say it's just a form of reparations. Like, this program is owed, and there's absolutely no shame in it. Everyone gets help. You need to earn $170,000 a year in Denver right now to afford the median priced home. And if you don't earn $170,000 a year, there's nothing wrong with you.
Yeah.
It's the housing market.
That's right. That's right.
And so that's essentially what I was getting at, is like, it is, I think when people hear affordable housing, they automatically go to some world where it's like, affordable housing leads to crime, and it's for, to use a horrible phrase, like lower level society or something like that. But affordable housing is, not to assume, but everyone in this room, I don't make $170,000 a year. I would like to be a homeowner and tap into some of that generational wealth. But the private housing market doesn't provide for us in this room.
Yeah.
So thank God for affordable Denver.
But I'll tell you, it does. So what Jonathan is saying is correct, but you don't have to only make $170,000 to get in a home, and that's why this brother and other folks are doing the work. Yep. So let's not get it twisted here. $170,000 is kind of the determination of wealth for purchasing a single family home. There are many other steps. I bought a half of a duplex that was a burnt out crack house before I bought it. So I bought a half of a duplex. I didn't buy a single family home.
Right.
And so we have ladders, and that's why these programs that Chaff is providing, deed restricted housing that ties to 30% of people's income. There is a development that's going to be at 29th and Welton, for sale condos.
Right.
You don't have to be making $170,000 to get into those houses. Share a little bit more around kind of the area median income for those. I forget how many condos they're building.
62,
yeah.
62 affordable condos, and 1 to 3 bedroom condos as well. So you get some large sizes, you can get some big families in there as well. And it really comes through some of the subsidies. For sale housing, Jonathan mentioned the low income housing tax credit program a little bit earlier. By far the largest driver of affordable rental housing, but homeownership not able to tap into that. So it really does come with a lot of subsidy. That's why when Host provides subsidy into these projects, we provide quite a bit more than we would a rental project, because we know they're so much more costly to develop, and they have to be purchased and not continually rented where the owner is getting a monthly check every month. The developers are typically out of the deal once that home buyer buys it. They're made whole. That home buyer just has a mortgage moving forward. So Host provides anywhere from $70,000 or $75,000 to $100,000 per individual unit to write down the cost that the developer's going to sell that to.
Yeah.
We partner with a lot of other agencies like the Elevation Community Land Trust, like Habitat, who also bring in their
Tierra
own.
Collectiva.
Tierra Collectiva is another great one. Yeah, they bring in their own philanthropic capital, write down that purchase price even more, and it does make it affordable to folks in that 60 to 80% of area median income range.
Yeah.
Well,
So believe me, folks are watching, if you are interested in purchasing, you need to attend one of these events.
Yeah.
Don't exclude yourself based on the dollar amount that you're making from your current job. There are ways to get across that bridge, and that's why I keep holding, this is my third housing barbershop talk, because I want our community to know and believe that homeownership is attainable, and we have programs to provide that and make that helpful. I want to change something just a little bit. I want to come to Danica. You and I were last winter dealing with some difficulties when it came to the habitability of residences across the city. I would love for you to share kind of, as we're going into colder months, and the residents we were dealing with, they didn't have water running or hot water for almost 60 days. I may be, was that about correct?
I don't remember, but it was more than any of us would want to live without it.
Share a little bit about when stuff like that happens. As we're getting into the colder months, we're going to see a lot more of those impacts for homes that our families already are living in. And many of them are places that the city has subsidized to build. If you don't mind sharing a little bit as to what the Department of Public Health, what you do to make sure that these tenants have rights, and that they not only can stay in the place, but that the place they're staying in is habitable.
Yeah, absolutely. So you're right that every winter, we get an uptick in water issues, lack of heat, lack of hot water, and then all year round other things like asbestos contamination is found or something like that. Something that is most of the time totally outside of the control of the people who live there. And it's kind of a dicey thing sometimes in the health department, because if conditions get, we want to take care of things right away and make the condition better. But if there's no way to do that quickly, sometimes we actually have to temporarily displace people. And because we have to say this is not safe for people, so we're gonna do what we call placarding, is putting a sign up, is issuing an order to the property owner and the people that live there that say, until these issues are fixed, until this is safe, people can't live here. And we try to be really, that's where the balance is, you don't wanna have anybody not have a place to go, or have to go to a shelter, or go stay with family or whatnot. And so we do everything, each situation is case by case. We had a situation in 5 Points, I think, actually last, at the end of the winter, where water was disrupted. Some parts of the building didn't have any hot water, some didn't have any water, and it was very touch and go, and it took a lot for it to be repaired. And it, from what I recall, it was a defect with how it was built, with the plumbing system. And at the health department, we're like, crap, we don't want to displace people if we don't have to, but this is also not okay. So how do we deal with that? Because we don't have the ability at this time to say to the property owner or management company, you have to find some alternate place to house people. We can sometimes really help them understand, hey, we can kind of sweet talk them a bit and be it's gonna really be in everybody's best interest here if you find some other place for these people to stay. But right now, we don't have the legal authority to require that. And so I don't know if that's where you had the idea from, where, hey, we can do something about this potentially. And so we're really excited to be working with you on an ordinance that you, I think, plan to introduce with the support of Councilwoman Lewis, and probably others too, I think, have been involved, that would give the health department potentially the authority to tell a property manager, property owner, you must find an alternate location that has hot water, that has heat, until, people are paying rent, it's not their fault. So they shouldn't be out of a house and then trying to chase down their landlord to get money back or figure out some alternate situation. If you're paying your rent, you should have a certainty of a place to live. So I thank you for your leadership in that area.
And I wanted to tee it up for you, Danica, because that just pissed me off. I mean, I had no idea, neither did Councilmember Lewis, and this happened in 5 Points. And these were not just any residents, these were elders, veterans, folks with disabilities, and there were porta potties. Now, this was during every year we have fake Snowmageddon, But this was during fake Snowmageddon. It was cold as heck. And they had porta potties for folks to go to the bathroom and portable showers in the alley for elders and folks in wheelchairs to use with 20-degree weather. And there was nothing in ordinance that said, you have to find another place for these folks. The only option, and Danica and their team were doing everything they can. Public health was doing everything they can. I want to just call you on. Public health was doing everything they can. But the only other option they would have had is to tell these folks, we got to close this building down in the middle of fake Snowmageddon. That was the only option they had. And so Councilmember Lewis and I are looking at this and we're like, how can we change this? And so we will be putting forward an ordinance that requires it has to still pass. And I'm putting it live to tell the other council members, we need your vote when we bring this forward and for the administration to be supportive. But we're going to have a requirement that these property owners, out of their own pocket, not the city's pocket, find appropriate spaces for these community members to go to. The millions of dollars and the subsidies we provide for them to build these buildings, there is a responsibility to the community. It just broke our hearts. And I got to give a shout out to Denver Water. This was not Denver Water's issue, but they came in undercover. They didn't want anyone to know that they were doing this, but they came in and they provided large, the big 5-gallon, pallets of water for community to be able to use, so they can fill up their tub and do whatever while we're looking for a solution so we didn't displace all of our elders. Right across from Sonny Larson Park, this building was. And so the important power that the Public Health Department has is to make sure that we're living a life of dignity in the spaces that we have when we have shelter. And I appreciate your team and all the work that you're doing, and that's why you're on this panel, because finding housing and making sure housing is stable is one thing, but making sure our people have places where they live in dignity isn't part of the discussion oftentimes we miss. We just, put them in places and then it's up to them to fight their way out, but we have a team that fights for them, and we want to make sure we keep partnering with you all and the good work that you're doing to make sure it's not just in 5 Points where we're fighting, but we're doing it across the city. So with that, how much time we got? We got 20 more minutes in our discussion. I wanted to open it up to each of you to talk through 2025 is coming. We have the election, there's going to be changes no matter what, as far as housing policy nationally, whether there's going to be investment. There's one candidate talking about providing funds for housing. There's another candidate that may not be aware that there's a housing crisis. Whatever happens in November is going to happen, but all of you are part of the spectrum of housing. And 2025 can hit us in community a little hard. I'm curious from your perspective, what are you anticipating for 2025? What are things that are making you excited about what you're seeing in housing policy, housing process? And what is something that you think we should be paying attention to? If you have something that we should keep our eyes on as far as community and as far as elected officials as it pertains to housing. And Jonathan, I'll start with you.
No. Went for it last time.
Yes, I didn't call you out the last time.
That's true. Let's see. Well, I think I'm excited because, and I can't think of the bill right now, but I'm happy to send out information later. But there was a bill last year that essentially mandated housing needs assessments and housing action plans. So I don't know if you guys remember what the bill number was, but that's, it's really critical. It's kind of what we were talking about accountability to the need and everything. So with almost every community basically having to do this, we're going to get a much better understanding. No longer is it going to be sort of like I don't know how to explain it, but you're almost penalized if you do a needs assessment and your neighbors don't, because they don't have to. Because it's like, oh, look at all this housing, I guess I'm going to spend all this money and they're not going to do anything because they didn't have to do a needs assessment or an action plan. And so there's this asymmetry that's been happening throughout the state, regionally in the metro area as well. So I'm extremely excited for us to get both local data and statewide data so we can know what the heck we're actually aiming for and what each individual jurisdiction's responsibility is in the crisis. Because Denver has a lot of housing issues, high costs, but it's not like the actions and inactions of our neighbors didn't have anything to do with it either. So I'm very excited for that to start. Now that's something that already passed, so just something to look forward to. Yeah, I'll keep on thinking about that, but that's what I got for now.
And brother, I know you're gonna break down to something with data. I appreciate you bringing the data and the facts. I tell you, migration don't stop. People are moving into Denver from other municipalities. The identification of folks identifying kind of what their plan is and what is important for housing within their county is important, because Denver is taking in folks from El Paso County, folks from Adams County, folks from Douglas County, and we have to absorb that. And there is less migration from here or there. And so really having a needs assessment statewide makes sense, because then we can also look at migration. So I think that is important. So thanks, brother.
And there is, it's interesting. Denver, right, has lost its black and some neighborhoods brown percentage of the population over time. So there is unfortunately out migration, as well as we're losing our black and brown communities to those neighborhoods. The trend, I agree, is inward. But being able to track that, like is Denver relying on to house those that it is not spending enough resources to house that are essential workers, This is just one thought. I say this all the time. In fact, I wrote something recently where I said teachers, nurses, firefighters, and I heard you say that earlier. And I'm going to call upon myself and all of us, if I can, to find something else to say. Because, what about barbers? What about, there's this concept that of the, I think it's like called the worthy poor. Have you guys heard this phrase before? It's like, are you worthy of assistance? And in order to get everyone thinking about whether or not these people are okay for a handout, it's not really a handout, they're really important for the economy or whatever. It's like nurses, teachers, and firefighters, and there's no other job worthy of assistance. That's the minority of people in Denver. I literally just use it for an op-ed. I wrote the same things. I'm calling myself out too. But how can we increase our sort of empathy to expand to people who you don't have to literally save our lives as a job to be worthy of living in this community. That's all, sorry.
Well, Marcus saves my life because he makes sure my hair is done right. So I'm gonna put barbershops in there too.
I can use some of that life saving right now.
So what else are you all looking forward to for 2025 as far as impacts to housing? And then I'm gonna go around the room because this is gonna broadcast in November. I wanna hear what folks are thankful for. So we're gonna end with folks talking about what are they thankful for as we close out. But for the panel in housing, what are you looking forward to in 2025, and what's one thing you think we should elevate?
Oh, nice. So I'm really excited for the pendulum to continue to swing towards greater awareness of the rights of tenants and advocacy organizations, tenants unions. These are voices that people were here 10 years ago, 20 years ago, but there weren't kind of the systems to elevate people, the opportunities to elevate people's voices and needs the same way there are now. And it has been absolutely amazing, and I think a game changer to see the emergence of these housing unions sometimes, especially with large complexes. We have some huge complexes in Denver, and not all of them are run really well. These are true stories. This happens every day. People put in the same complaint in again and again and again. And helping the health department understand what's going on there. Because like I said earlier, we were taking a very piecemeal, blinders on approach. We'll go in and deal with this complaint. Wait, what if the same complaint's happening over and over again throughout the complex? And so seeing some of the changes that had happened with state law, with local law, we're going to be updating our residential health regulations, the regulations in the city and county of Denver that set forth the habitability standards and the responsibility of people who are leasing property. We're going to be making updates there, and I think it's a really great opportunity and great timing for us to be really thoughtful about, there's provisions in leases sometimes that are illegal. I don't have authority right now to take action on those. Or there's just systems that just are not fair, you know, and like practices that aren't fair with how property managers and landlords sometimes, we've got some wonderful ones, there's plenty of
Yes.
great ones around
Yes.
town, I wanna emphasize that, and we have to be thoughtful about making sure that we're being fair to everybody, including the people that are running, and, you know, properties, but where we have the bigger differential of power is with the people who are renting. And so I'm really excited to just like see the momentum continue, to be thoughtful about what can we put in there that really helps get at those systems of power where people are not being fair, not being responsible, so that we have a legal means and authority to intervene meaningfully.
And I'll say cracking down or elevating the process that I'm seeing a lot more of not allowing folks to sign one-year leases. And you have to do month to month. Month to month, you can get your butt kicked out any month. But you sign a year lease, you're in for a year without cause. If you don't have cause, you can't get rid of them. A lot of property owners are going to month. And so we need to look, we're planning on looking at what that means. And is that the state or us have to take action? Yeah. Mr. Adam?
Yeah,
what
I
are you excited
will,
about?
continue that vein of just continuing that momentum. I think that Denver over the past couple of years has done a lot of really great policy actions, things like the prioritization policy where new developments have to source at least 30% of their tenants through a prioritized.
So we need to connect because I didn't know about that.
Yeah.
So that is power.
Yeah.
25,000.
25,000, because a
Wow.
lot, our other programs are a percentage of your loan amount.
Yeah,
So
yes,
our programs that
yes.
have been around for a while, we have a grant that doesn't have to be paid back, but that's 3% whatever your loan amount
Yeah,
is.
yeah.
We have a second mortgage that you can get 4% of your loan amount that gets paid back if you sell or refinance your
This is a
home.
flat
But a lot of times, you know, if you can't afford that $500,000, $600,000 home when you're buying your first 1-bedroom or 2-bedroom condo, 3% or 4% of your loan amount really doesn't move the needle enough to really put you there. But maybe that same person is a first-generation home buyer, and now instead of 3 or 4%, and that might hit you at 10,000, 12,000. Now you're going to get 25,000 regardless of what your loan amount size is.
Man.
So I think that's huge. I think that's huge.
That's a
I was
blessing.
excited to see where that goes.
That's
What's
a
the
blessing.
life on that one?
What do you mean by life?
That,
How long?
yeah,
Like how long can you
how
have
long
it?
will Chapel run? That's something.
Oh, that's
Program.
That's we're keeping that program. It's not going anywhere. I mean,
Okay.
TAFA's not a entity where it's gonna it's not to run out of funds. Okay, we're keeping that sucker.
Okay.
And we're just gonna build upon it and build upon it.
Well, we got you on video now, so you're not, they ain't going nowhere. We're gonna put you down and say, that brother, he said forever.
Man, people gonna be emailing me with
He
the
said
clip,
forever.
the video link of
He
it.
said forever. But hey, you know what? I come from the Virgin Islands, and in November we have Thanksgiving, and Thanksgiving for us isn't so much what was the continent does as much, and I call the continent the contiguous states here. We do Thanksgiving because we have hurricane season, and so from June through November it's hurricane season, and we're thankful that we make it through hurricane season. And so I know not everyone celebrates U.S. Thanksgiving, but I wanted to make sure that we may be close tonight, because this is going to be broadcasted in November, talking about what we give thanks for and what are we thankful for in 2024. And I want to go around the room. I want to start first with DJ Squirrel, and if you just share a little bit of what you are thankful for, my brother.
All right, I'm gonna come over here and do it.
Come on over so we can see you.
All right, so first of all, I'm thankful just for every day I wake up.
Yeah.
My son is 24. He's doing his own thing with his girlfriends, but at least I don't get a call that he's in a hospital or he's been hurt. So let him do his thing. You know, I can't stop him on that. I am thankful for the board tonight. I will say that there's some things that I've experienced myself, being a 35-year employee of Denver Public Schools that retired, that is on an income that I'm always told that I make too much to be able to do this. And there are people that do not fall in the brown, black, white, whatever, that are constantly told, you make too much, you don't qualify for anything. And I know people that are in that boat even people that I work part-time with at Home Depot, they ask me a lot of stuff about Darrell. A lot.
And you say all good stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I post a lot of pictures. You guys' pictures will all be posted on Facebook and Instagram and everything tonight. But one of the things that a lot of senior citizens, including people that I retire with from Denver Public Schools, is when you spend 30 years with a school system and you have did the right thing, you've worked, you're in your early 60s, and you haven't owned a home, but then you go to buy this home and you make too much for CHAPA, or you get told that you don't qualify for this, or you still gotta put this big, huge amount of money down. The one thing I would like to be thankful for is that there's a lot more consideration for the senior citizens out there. Because much like my man said over there, a lot of people worry about when they go into affordable housing who their neighbors are gonna be. And I know 2 affordable housings that are right out there in Green Valley Ranch that were really nice the first year they made them. And now they are nothing but young girls with 5 and 6 kids that don't want to get a job because they don't want to lose their welfare, whatever, their foods. They don't want to get a job because they don't want to lose that. They don't want to lose what they got that's basically given to them. Much like when we were older, you had to go get a job. You brought that kid into the world, you had to take care of that kid. Your job is to take care of my kid. My job is to take care of my kid. And I would like to be more thankful and have more attention paid to some of the senior citizens that have actually worked for a lot of years, including my son's grandfathers. My son's grandfather actually owned the house brand new on 33rd and Steele. He's the only owner of the house. His name is Norris Hardin. He spent 27 years with Denver Public Schools. And I'm very thankful that I'm in the position that I'm at, but I definitely would like to see it get better. And if I had any wish to where I had a wand, I would like it to be better for the seniors that have actually did what they were taught to do back in the generational thing and work, but still do not get any breaks on any kind of food stamps, cuts on electric bills, cuts on housing because they get told they make too much. Also, when you get to be a certain age, some of us know, your mind isn't as fast. So when you go in there and you get told about all of these programs, it takes you a little while to understand what the programs are. Then you get frustrated when you go, man, I don't want to hear this again. I don't want to hear this again. I looked at a house the other day, much like my man said. I made too much money to apply for an FHA, and they want all this money down, but I'm just a retired guy that's DJ'd for 42 years and spent 35 years of my life with Denver Public Schools, but there's no breaks out there for the people that have actually did what they were supposed to do.
Well, DJ, I gotta tell you, you can take up all the rest of my meeting.
No, I'm not. I want to hear what those two guys have.
Yeah, so I'm gonna say, let's get some music back on a little bit, and we're gonna keep going around the room.
Yeah.
But brother, I'm gonna be working on some of that stuff for you because there are solutions for things you shared. And Adam, I know you gotta go, so why don't we do a little quick thank you from you first.
Yeah, again, thank you all for having me. I'm obviously thankful for you all and what you do to your communities. But really, I think I'm thankful just for leadership at all levels in Colorado. We had some really solid leaders. We had a really great legislative session this year. We had a lot of really impactful housing bills passed. We have a mayor in this city who is very dedicated to affordable housing. And we have a city council who couldn't be better advocates for the work that we all do up here. So really just thankful for the solid leadership that we have at all levels across the state and across the city.
All right, brother, go get it. I know you gotta get out of here.
If I do, so thank you all so much for having me. Good to see you all. Look forward to chatting again soon.
All right, yep.
Thank you.
Let's keep coming, sister. You're next. What are you thankful for?
I'm thankful for the information that I received at the shop talks and everything else that we do. Even with like the stepping stones of having like the tenant program and food stamps and everything like that, because it is like a stepping stone.
Yeah.
It's not supposed to be forever. It's just somewhere to put you in so you can move forward with it. And it's on some people that run away with it, and some people are stuck in their comfortability. Like they're comfortable there. I'm not a person that's not comfortable, so I do want to grow. I do want to be that first home buyer for my family as well too, for my mom, my 2 kids. But I'm just thankful for the opportunity to even receive the information.
Sister, I'm thankful that you're here, so I appreciate your input. Mr. Marcus Pope.
I'm just thankful for community, because in community you get engagement, you get information, you get stimulation, you get inspiration, you get challenged, and so that's what community brings, and thankful for that. Thankful for our councilmen and our leadership. Shout out to his birthday at the end of the week. So
Double nickel birthday.
yeah, man, just thankful.
Yeah,
Thankful
right.
for the leadership.
Really?
Yeah,
Double.
nickels.
I would not
55.
guess that.
Come on now. I appreciate it.
Yeah, man. I appreciate you.
You're trying to add me.
Darius, what are you thankful for?
I'm a new father. I have I've got a 1.5-year-old and a 1 month old, so I'm thankful that they're healthy more than anything, that's for sure. And I'll just piggyback off the leaders. I'm thankful I have role models in my life such as Marcus, such as Darrell, many others as well that I look up to and that I learn from, and I'm thankful for them.
So Nico.
Yeah, my wife and I moved here in July, and it's been a whirlwind trying to, get involved and obviously find a job and things like that. But man, has the community been welcoming, and so really thankful to be living in a place that is, forward thinking. And to echo what you guys have said, like there's just a lot of good things happening here. It feels like in Denver, change can happen, and that like we can really correct some of those social challenges that can sometimes feel overbearing. And so, in a nutshell, just thankful to be a part of this community, and thankful that it's so welcoming.
Reach. And we did a 1-minute thank you for panels. Panelists.
Thankful for the roof over my head. Thankful for the food on my table. Thankful for health. I have 2 kids, 20 and 17, and they're healthy and doing their thing. And I have a wife that supports and has my back, and a family of relatives that are pretty healthy. And I do a job that I've been really looking for a long time. I come from a family that gives back to the community, and I've been looking for something like this for a long time, and I finally feel like I'm doing my part and getting in and getting involved with that and giving back to the community. So I'm thankful for all that, and meeting all these bright, influential people along the way that I get to come to these sorts of panels and do things with. Thanks for all that.
Thanks, brother.
Every day is a blessing. My husband Darrell, my 3 kids, 2 bonus kids, 3 grandkids.
Wow.
Also though, shameless plug, I am so thankful for the opportunities I've had in the field of public health and the changes we've made. Used to be, you had to have a college degree. Used to be, you had to have a car to drive around the city all day.
Yeah.
Don't need that anymore. And so we are really trying to bring community, like make people knowledgeable about what the field of public health is. We have a ride-along program at the Public Health and Environment. You can ride along with a health inspector. So hit us up.
That's great. Thanks, Danica. You're closing us out,
I'll
brother.
try to be quick. One thing, this speaks briefly to what actually you were saying earlier. I think there's 2 sort of models of change that I've noticed that sometimes seem at odds for housing. And one is that you need to, the way to justice is to ensure access to the existing system. So the main problem has been that Black and brown and other marginalized folks have not had access to the American dream, and that's the original sin. You fix that, everything's good. The flip side of that is, so if 1% of the people who own all the wealth, and it was a perfect percent, like perfectly representative, right, of Black, brown, any gender, is that justice? Like a perfectly representative 1%? Probably not. So I think you also have to think about changing the system that doesn't serve people of any color.
Yeah.
And so I'm thankful that there are people who are thinking about it in a more comprehensive way. There's a ton of middle income and other housing programs that are coming online. They're thinking about how housing isn't serving anyone in general. So I'm thankful for that. On a personal note, I'm thankful that my little sister peer pressured me to stop smoking cigarettes last year. I don't think it's been healthier. Yeah, in the last 10 years, and it's all because she shamed me really hard.
That's nice.
So, thanks, Steffi, if you're watching.
Well, thanks, panelists. Thank you, community, for being here. I'm thankful to be able to serve the fine District 9. This is my dream opportunity to be able to give back to be able to fight for the people that I live around, the people who trust me, and the people whom I love. You know, that's part of my job, is to be in the battle every day, and I am so grateful for it. I'm grateful for my husband, who's gonna be watching this. I'm grateful for my mom, that she's still healthy. I'm just grateful for being here, and I'm grateful for all of y'all. And so, thank you for watching our Barbershop Talks for October 2024. Get out and vote if you haven't voted as yet. And DJ Squirrel, break it down. This is how we do it. Yeah. That's it. Thank y'all, man.